Okay, so we're on 6-1, page 3 of the notes. We're starting composition of functions. Now, you compose functions quite often and you don't even realize it's what you're doing. You just do it in a two-step process instead of one. Like when we compose, it kind of brings two functions. Well, let me back up. Let me start over. If you go to the store and you're buying, I don't know, shoes, a shirt, whatever, sometimes you'll see, say 20% off the original price, and then they'll say something like another 30% off the sale price, right? So you get 20% off the original and then 30% off the sale. So what you'd have to do is take your original price, figure out what 20% of that is, subtract that from the original. Then you would take that price and take the 30% off of it. And what that is basically composition of functions. Okay? Taking the initial 20% and then taking the result of that and finding the 30% of it, that's what we're going to be doing. So you do one calculation or one function, and then you take that result and put it into a different function. Okay? And we're going to start, first of all, we're going to talk about notation. Okay. The composition of functions, and this is basically what this means. You take a value and put it into one function, get the result, and then put it into the other function. Okay? So this is composition notation. It looks like fog. Except sometimes, it may not be f of x and g of x you're working with. It could be h of x, j of x. But it looks like fog when it's f of g of x. Okay? Now don't get that little symbol mixed up with the multiplying. That's an open circle. It's not colored in. Okay, multiplying's usually not quite that large, and it looks like this. It's a solid circle. All right, so don't get them mixed up. All right. Now, when it's written with this notation, to me it's not as easy to see exactly what you're doing until you rewrite it like this. These two things mean the same thing. F of g of x, f of g of x. So what that means is you plug x into the g function, get the result, then plug that result into the f function. That's what that means. Okay? The ones we're going to start off with first are going to be where we're not given the actual function equation, we're given points. So the way you do it's a little bit different. Alright, so example 3a. For each pair of functions, find f of g of x and g of f of x if they exist. State the domain and range for each composed function. Alright, so here's our f function. These are your x values. These are your y values, also known as f of x. So if I said, what is f of 0, you would say 13. Okay? Then over here is our g function, the x values, and then your y values, which are your g of x values. So if I said g of 8, that would be 15. Okay? So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do f of g of x. So I'm going to rewrite it like this. F of g of x. It's the same thing as that. Now, how many points do I have in my, or ordered pairs do I have in my f function? 4. So that means we're going to have to calculate 4 times. How many do I have in my g function? 4. And actually, that's where we're going to start. You're going to start with the inside function first. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to find f of g of, now what's my first x value in the g function? 8. Now, You can go out to the side so you can see this step by step, but once you get the hang of it, you won't need to do this anymore. Alright, so first thing we want to do is the inside part. We want to find g of 8. What's g of 8? 15? So now what we want to do is we want to put that into, we want to take the result and make that the x value in our f function. So now we want to find f of 15. So what's f of 15? 11. So g of 8 is 15, so we want f of 15, and f of 15 is 11. You don't have to do this part over here, but I was just showing you how that goes there. Alright, now we're going to do f of g of 5. That's our next x value. 5 is our next x value in the g function. Alright, what is g of 5? 1. So now I want to take that and make that the x value in my f function. So what is f of 1? 8, right here. Okay, 2 more times. F of, now what I want to find, g of what? My third x value in the g function. So I want f of, now what's g of 10? 14. Now what's f of 14? 9. Alright, then I have one more to do. F of g of what? 9. So f of, what is g of 9? And then what is f of 0? Okay, so f of g equals, and we're going to list our ordered pairs. Your ordered pairs are going to be the original x value you plugged in from the g, and then the final value you got after you plugged into the f. Okay? So your first ordered pair in f of g is 8, 11. That comes from here, here. So this middle part is not in the ordered pair. It's where you started and where you ended. Alright, then what would the next one be? What? 5, 8. Then what would the next one be? 10, 9. And the last one? Alright, now we want the domain and range. The domain, since these are individual ordered pairs, the domain, we're just going to list the individual x values. Remember, domain, that's your x values. So in order, it would be 5, 8, 9, 10. Alright, your range would be 8, 9, 11, 13. Alright. Now, that's only half the problem. We've done f of g of x. Now we got to do g of f of x. Alright, so we're going to do g of f of x. So this time we're going to be starting with the inside. We're going to be starting with the f. So g of f of, what's our first x value in our f function? 1, right here. Okay, what's f of 1? 8. So then we want g of 8. What's g of 8? 15. Okay, then we want g of f of, what's our next x value? 0. So what's f of 0? 13. So we want g of 13. What's g of 13? Right. It's undefined. We don't have an x value of 13, so that one's undefined. We don't have a value. Alright, next will be g of f of what? Good. What's f of 15? What's g of 11? Undefined. There's not an 11x value. And remember, this is an x value, not a y. One more. G of f of what? 14. So what's f of 14? F of 14 is 9, so we want g of 9. And what's g of 9? 0. Okay, so g of f equals, what's my first ordered pair? 115. Where we started, where we ended. Alright, what's my next one? 14, 0. That's it. The other two are undefined. So there's no ordered pairs for that. So what's my domain? Yeah, that's right. The x values. And what's my range? Whoops, that doesn't look very good. This thing's been kind of acting up today for some reason. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is, rather than going on the back of your notes or somewhere on your note, if you want to do it on another sheet of paper, you can, or you can just do it on the back. I'm going to give you one problem to do real quickly. And then I kind of got you started on it. But here's you don't have to write the directions down, but here's the directions. Find f of g of x and g of f of x, state the domain and range. Basically what we just did. Alright, your f, here's your f function. The points are the ordered pairs. And here's your g. And then I got you started. Remember, you don't have to do this part right here. I'm going to pause the video while y'all are... Did I ever start the video? Yeah, I started the video, didn't I? It's still not doing it. Okay, if you're watching the video, this is the answer to f of g of x. So if you need to pause it, pause it. And then this is the answer to g of f of x.